being successful at the small things, you incrementally get confidence to try bigger and bigger things. And I just think that start wherever you are and then start building momentum. I don't know, I can't remember enough about my physics class I took in college, right? It's been a long time, but I know the hardest thing is overcoming inertia.
Hello and welcome to Outer Spaces, a podcast dedicated to empowering designers and contractors in the outdoor living space. I am on a mission to scour the globe to find and interview the most brilliant mindset coaches, sales strategists, and business leaders alive, and present them in a way that landscapers, hardscapers, and outdoor living pros can immediately put them into use to grow and thrive. On Outer Spaces, we are passionate about breaking the chains of small mindsets and helping contractors just like you take control of their businesses and their lives. My name is Joshua Gillow, and through my 27 years of dirt under the nails experience, I look forward to sharing tips, strategies, and other contractor success stories here on the Outer Spaces podcast. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hello, welcome back to the Outer Spaces podcast. This is your host, Joshua Gillow, and today I have Jay Papasan on the podcast. He is the co-author of The One Thing. It's a book that is wildly popular. He wrote it over 10 years ago, and it has changed millions of people's lives. And it talks about one fundamental principle. Instead of trying to multitask and be good at everything, he wants you to go back to becoming a one-trick pony, being purposeful, being focused, and mastering something in your life. That's what this podcast is about. Jay knocks it out of the park. So enjoy this episode. Oh, Jay, I'm so excited to have you on the show this week. And you know, you've done so many amazing things with your book, and you have this idea. This is why I wanted you to come on this podcast, because I know the listeners out there, a lot of small business owners, contractors that are out there working every day to pay the bills, make some money, go on vacation, that kind of thing. And you have this idea, right? We're so told that we should figure out how to multitask and try to spread ourselves out as far as we can. And you completely flip the script with your book, The One Thing. And you teach us that we should become a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Please tell me more about that.
So it's, and I could go back almost to the origin story, but like I get to work with a guy named Gary Keller, and he started what's now the largest real estate company under a single brand by agent count, and I think by sales too. And when the idea for the book, The One Thing, came up, what I loved about it is I'd been working with him for, I guess, 12 years at that point. And everything about going all in on your biggest opportunity, I was like, I love it because this book is perfectly concentric with who we are as a company and who he was as an achiever. And so I like that because that just means there's integrity all through it. But Gary's superpower, and we're trying to impart a practical way for people to dive into it, right? An accessible way is he will spend more time identifying what the real priority is than anyone else. Once he identifies it, he will give it more time, resources, and energy than almost anybody else is willing to stand. And so, but that just exercise right now in this moment, what's my number one priority? And being really clear on that, the gift is it allows us to be appropriate in the moment. And I just can't tell you, there's so many places we could go into, like some of the nerdier out parts of it. But if you've got big goals, I'm building a company. Someday I want to not just it to be great for me and my family. I want to have employees and it's their opportunity. And I'm, to be that person in your family, maybe like some dream. Like I want to be the person that creates generational change because I was a success and showed other people we could do it too. Man, how do I behave this week to make that happen?
Yeah.
And so like figuring out how you cascade priorities from a really big idea to the now is also something that's one of my favorite things that we unlock. So that's the big idea. It's not that we only have one thing. We all have way too many things.
Yeah.
I've got kids that are about to go off to college. One is, I've got aging parents, right? I've got business partners. Like we all have many priorities, but at any given moment, do we know what our number one is? That's what the question we were trying to give people a framework for asking and answering so they'd walk around with more clarity.
I love that. And clarity is certainty, right? And certainty then moves mountains. So I love it, dude. So how do we find
that's
that?
Good. Is that a Joshua original?
I just made that shit up.
That's good.
So How do we
Clarity creates
find it?
certainty, and certainty moves mountains. I may have to quote you on that. That's very well
Just
put.
send me the T-shirt. I want one.
I'm sorry, I'm a writer. So like if you say
Yeah.
something cool, you may well find me like, can I get permission to use this?
Absolutely, dude. You got permission. Go for it. If it can
All
help
right.
people and change their lives, man, do it. So how do we get that kind of clarity? You say, getting down to that, becoming that one-trick pony in a world of constantly, barraged a world of our social media driving us crazy, phones dinging, pinging, all that stuff, phone ringing, and you've got people asking, needing your assistance. You've got families, all that. How do we get to that one thing? How do we define what the hell that even is?
I love like you're coming at the book from such a unique angle. So like I'm trying to like what's great is it breaks all the patterns, right? Of like, oh, I know the answer to that one already. I'm trying to think of the best way to enter into it. I think that the first thing you do is you break things down. And so we have like the only page I have memorized in our white hardcover book is page 114. And it's got the 7 circles where you would use the one thing approach. And the idea is you might have a one thing for your spiritual life, your physical health, right? Your key relationship. You can kind of go around to your finances. So first off is you do have all these areas of your life that to have a really extraordinary life, you would want to attend to. The trick working backwards is you figure out the key activity that drives the majority of the results in any given area, for my marriage, for my health, right? For my business. And you don't not only make that a priority in your life, but you make it a habit. And so when I look at people who've built extraordinary lives, they've gone through those areas and they don't do it all at once. They go all in on, this will be the year that I laid the foundation for my health and energy. I believe, if you're going to do great things in business, you also have to have a store of physical energy.
Amen.
And young entrepreneurs go out there, they burn the midnight oil. They're using all the youthful energy and they will hit a wall.
Yes.
But you talk to people who've been seasoned and they also still look relatively healthy. They don't have black, circles under their eyes and stuff. And they're not fat from drinking too much alcohol or whatever. You're like, no, I go to bed at a decent hour. I get up, I exercise, I eat a healthy breakfast, or maybe I intermittent fast or cold plunge. Like they have their rituals.
Yes.
So that their foundation is really strong so that they can go out and do amazing things. So I just jumped into a lot of places. Break your world into categories, build very purposeful habits around the things that matter most to you. And in a matter of a couple of years, you can be a completely transformed human. And it's not always about the outcomes. It's that you've made the activities that make those outcomes possible just habitual. I think Gretchen Rubin, do you know the author Gretchen Rubin?
I do not.
She wrote a book called The Happiness Project, which is really good. And she's also just kind of funny. So it's kind of fun to read her stuff because she's a great researcher. She's asking big questions and she makes you laugh along the way, which I personally enjoy a lot. I was chatting with her and she shared with me that in her research, about 77, maybe 74, I'm misquoting slightly, of your average day was behavior that was mostly automatic. You weren't thinking about it. You get out of bed, you stumble into the bathroom, you kind of do your morning routine, brush your teeth, maybe rub the sleep out of your eyes, maybe you have to take some vitamins, whatever that is. Like I'm teeth, coffee machine started. I don't think about it. I'm just kind of a robot in that sense. And the idea is if 70 plus percent, 7 out of 10 of the things that we do is happening below the conscious level, are we living a life by default or design? And I think the big idea that we want people to take away from the book is like, start by mastering the approach, and we can break that down separately. What is the one thing approach that you're applying? What does that look like? When you master the approach, you can build purposeful habits that will then be just as unconscious as remembering to brush your teeth. Like maybe once a year, I'll get to the car, kind of rub my tongue across my teeth and go, oops, I missed a step. But it almost never happens because at a certain point, you've worked until the thing is just kind of automatic. Do you have kids, Joshua?
I do too, yes.
Okay. Well, as someone who had to get them through the teenage years and those like 5 to maybe 11, there was a whole period where did you brush your teeth? okay, let me smell your breath. I'm not sure I believe you, right?
Been there, yeah.
Yeah. And so you don't realize, unless you're a parent of someone of that age, that your parents spent like a decade building that habit into you, so it could be so automatic. But what does your world look like if the 2 or 3 things that would lead to the most success in your landscaping business, your architecture design business, whatever that business is, if there were 3 or 4 disciplines that you just internalize so that people just think of you as the person who does those automatically and that you don't have to think about it, but they drive all of the success.
Yeah.
And that's where I get excited because, man, I can't be focused all day.
Yeah.
But I can key in on a handful of things that have outsized importance in my success. And I can just be unrelenting about making sure that I check those boxes every single week. Or if I miss a week, I double down.
Yeah.
And over the years, it just piles up. And suddenly people go, wow, how did you get so strong? In a really boring fashion. It was just a little bit. And then as you build the habit, you can grow the habit. Anyway, if you can't tell, it's been a decade since we wrote this book. Mm-hmm. And I still get really, really excited talking about it because it transformed my life. And it's like, I was so happy the first time I found out that my kids read it. I didn't have to pay them. They were actually given it to it by a teacher at school. And I was like, let's talk about it. Right.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm going to throw it back to you because I don't want to soapbox or monologue on you. You know,
dude, you're rocking it. It's awesome. And
okay.
I love that your kids ended up getting your book at school. It's got to be such an awesome thing to be. Dad, they're making me read this book, and be like, did you see who's on the cover?
Well, by then they were like 16 and 17.
Okay, all right.
And so I was like, dude, you had to get it signed in school to read your dad's million copy bestseller. You know, it's like, come on. But they wouldn't be my teenagers if they didn't push back. But like,
of course.
Gus, my older son, wants to be a writer. He's like he started off his freshman year in college this year, and he's working with the school paper. And it's like, he had really thoughtful questions. I was like, I love that. How proud am I right now to be your dad?
Dude, I love that. I love it. And man, I'd love to go deeper into habits and rituals and how absolutely critical it is to have them on a daily basis. I'd love for you to go deeper into that.
Okay, so when I think about like my daily rituals, sometimes when I do a keynote speech or I'm speaking in a company, I'll like show a week of my calendar. Mm-hmm. And I've built, or my wife and our family have built, a keystone habit, right? If you've read Charles, I'm reaching behind me, Charles, is it Duhigg, The Power of Habit? Like the idea of a keystone habit is so important. We've built a keystone habit in all of the areas of our life. So like I kind of was hinting at, it's like we really, really focus on the morning. Whatever is morning to you and your peers, it's not specifically about the time of day because not everybody is a lark, right? An early bird. But if you get up an hour or two before you have to start work, that time tends to be fairly unregulated. There's not a lot of demands on your time, and you can do things that are really laying your foundation. And if you read, Tools of Titan by Tim Ferriss or listen to a lot of these podcasts, you'll realize a lot of extraordinarily successful people launch their days with some form of ritual or habit. Mm-hmm. And so my wife and I, we built a workout habit. And I've never been one to enjoy going to the gym. She never played sports at all in high school and college, any of those. I kind of was, but like if I wasn't playing a sport, I wasn't exercising. Because the idea of just running around a track just made me, want to poke my eyes out. I just couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
But if I'm with someone and someone was coming to me, it would work. So I remember we had our kids. We were thinking, how do we get healthy again? Because those first couple of years, we had them 16 months apart, and our second one was colicky. It was a hard, sleepless couple of years where when you're sleepless, you don't eat well, blah, 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 blah. We both gained a little weight. She started working out because she was the stay-at-home parent. And I was like, how can I do that with you? And we tried to think it through. It's like, so after a long day of watching the kids by yourself, desperate for adult contact, I'll come home from work, kiss you, and then go to the gym. Not going to work for our marriage.
That's right.
In the morning, it was my job to get him dressed and out the door so she could have a break and sleep in a little bit. And I also didn't want to sacrifice that. So we just kept negotiating. It was like, there was no time for me to do it that wasn't an inconvenience for her, and that I felt like I could make it a habit. Because the important thing about building a habit is you want to do it at a time that you largely have control, which is, again, why morning comes up.
Yeah.
Right? My boss doesn't expect me to answer emails at 5 a.m. So here's the long story short. Wendy was going to a trainer that had a class that started, I believe it started at 6:15 in the morning. It was a camp that people would show up in a park and they would do body weight exercises, kind of CrossFit stuff. She talked him, instead of her attending his class, he would be in our driveway at 5 a.m., work out with us for an hour. Then he still had time to get to his camp because he was already in the neighborhood. But we were paying him. This guy's name was Dallas. And he was a monster. But he goes, if I'm going to get up that early to be in your driveway at 5, you better be in the driveway ready to go, or I'm coming around and I'm banging on your window till you come out. So here's the truth I didn't realize. Built-in accountability. Oh, yeah. I can't skip going to the gym if a huge guy named Dallas is going to be banging on my door saying, get your ass out. He's going to punish me and make me do extra burpees.
Love it.
The bonus is now my wife and I work out with a trainer. We've been doing it since like 2007 or 8, maybe. With a trainer 3 times a week. We've been doing hard things before most of the world was even awake.
Yeah.
And back then we had to get up like at 4:40 so that I could have like half a sip of coffee and be in the driveway and ready to be in pain. But we could finish the workout with the baby monitor before our kids naturally woke up.
Yeah.
That was our compromise. But it had all of these benefits. When you're working out, I tend to naturally eat better and sleep better. Because we had the practice of getting up 3 days a week. We started getting up earlier most of the week. And then we also started going to bed at a decent time because the workouts were hard and like you just couldn't wake up on 4 hours of sleep. So anyway, that's the idea of the keystone habit. We anchored in on something that we could control, early morning time. Kids rarely could interrupt it. Dallas was amazing for like 4 years. He never missed a session unless he was like had the flu. So he was super consistent. We built a great habit. I'll give you one more example. This is the opposite end. Same time period. You have 2 kids. One of them's colicky. Your wife's given up her job to be a stay-at-home with a colicky kid, 2 in diapers. It's hard. We didn't have any romance. We moved to Austin in 2000, and we had no family here. So when we started our family in Texas, it was us and only us. And I don't regret it, but like if we wanted to night out, we had to pay for a babysitter.
Yeah.
And I remember Gary, my writing partner, said, maybe y'all should come up with a ritual, using the word that you shared, Joshua, ritual, not habit, because I don't think we were at that point where we're even talking about habits like we were. Because his son and him, he goes, we have a guy's night out and we call it movie night, and it's Thursday nights, and we just go, whatever new movie's out, we get tickets and go, and it's guy's night out. And that gives Mary, his wife, a chance to also have a girls' night in without the boys. And so it's win-win, but it's a ritual. He goes, have you thought about doing a date night? And I was like, oh, like we just kind of haphazardly on a Friday or Saturday would try to find a babysitter. So we tried to make it institutional. We said, we're going to do a minimum of 2 dates a month.
Yeah.
And we tried on Friday and Saturday nights like everybody does, because that's when you want to go out on a date.
Yep.
The challenge was there were no babysitters.
Yeah.
None. We were always fighting, so it was never consistent. And then I don't even know when I got the inspiration, but I just said, how do you feel about breaking up the week and doing Wednesday nights? And the cool thing was there was no competition for babysitters on Wednesday nights. There was always a table at a restaurant. Movies come out on Thursday nights, so the movie was never sold out, right? There ended up being all these benefits. And we've been doing that so long, I think that Wendy's now counted that we've gone on another 750 dates.
That's awesome. I love that.
Doing one a week.
Yeah.
And because we quickly, as soon as we could afford it, got a babysitter every Wednesday.
Yeah.
We just couldn't afford it in the beginning. But that has now become a habit. And here's the other thing about habits. You train yourself. So now, like I'm just thinking Wednesday night's date night. We can't stay out late because we're parents. and we have a, high school babysitter or whatever, and we have to get home at a reasonable hour. But like, we got really creative on how to have fun on a Wednesday night and still go to work on a Thursday morning. And everybody in our life, it would be like people were staying late on a Wednesday. They'd be like, Jay, isn't it date night? Don't you need to get home?
Yeah.
And it's like this weird thing. Like, you train yourself and suddenly the world recognizes you as that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they actually start giving you help. So anyway, we created several financial habits, business habits, networking habits. And I can just tell you, I think maybe 4 or 5 really powerful habits have made all the difference in my professional and personal life.
Man, wow. It's so much, Jay, about being purposeful, being intentful with what you're doing, right? You cannot drift around in life and expect to win. You don't just show up on the front door of the castle. You know what I mean? You've got to work your butt to get there, but being purposeful, understanding your purpose in life, understanding, where your limitations are, where you need to hire around, and being purposeful with your time. I mean, I love that you're so into the rituals and the habits, because every successful person that I've talked to has a very strict version of that they get up and they do a certain set of things each and every day for the most part, and they give themselves grace because life happens. Yeah. But at the same time, it's having that knowledge every day. Like for me, when I get up, the first thing I do is I read scripture every morning. I get connected to what I created, right?
You start with your spiritual life, which was the 100%. First circle for us. I love that.
Yeah, it's the first thing I do every morning. I reconnect and I refocus so that I know exactly what I'm doing. Next is going to be something around the family side. So it's always faith, family, fitness, and finance, the 4 Fs, right? And then so the family side, the kids are making their lunch for the day, because my sons are 13 and 16 now, and they're making their lunch for school and getting ready, and I'm talking to them and driving them crazy and being goofy dad, right? And the next thing, my wife and I, we go for a walk around our project, our development area that we're in, and we go for a nice long walk. We see the sunrise. We always try to time it for the sunrise. We come back and she does her workout. I go for a run or work out with her, or work out. And to your point, going to a gym, exactly the same reality you got. Like, well, if I go to the gym, that means I'm not with my family, right? I can go work out there. So I just bought a bunch of weights and put them in the house, and we figure that out there, right? And I go for a run, but I don't have to drive anywhere, right? So it's being able to share that time together, and again, being more purposeful in how you do it.
Over the years, you can assemble quite a gym. Like, not all at once, unless you've got some money, but we've assembled a pretty nice gym. Like, new trainers show up and it's like, oh, you do have that and you have that. And it's like, you just buy a couple of pieces every, few quarters or whatever, maybe once a year, and you end up with a pretty nice little home gym.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so interesting when you start thinking about life, saying, okay, what if I was actually the artist of my life? What if I held the brushes and I could create it any way I wanted to, and said, okay, well, in order to do that, just like an artist, they have to pick a color. They have to pick a line. They have to draw things out, whatever. They've got to be purposeful in how they attack it. The same thing we do with our life. We have to be purposeful in that. And those rituals keep you on track, because when you're not, you're like a boat unmoored, just bouncing around, and pretty soon you're like, oh, it sucks, or I'm not winning, or I'm behind, or whatever. But when you've got rituals every single day and you stick with those habits and rituals, man, just 2 millimeter growth a day accumulates like snow, man. After a while, you've got an entire parking lot to shovel.
Well, that's I want to highlight that. Just I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm thinking back, like, we've jumped in. Like, clearly you've been living this journey for a while. I have too. Yeah. And for somebody whose life is just like back to me, like 2 kids, new business, and you just feel like your hair's on fire all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Our mantra in the book was think big, start small. And it's very counterintuitive, is that all huge things do start from this humble beginning. We can talk about the journey of 1,000 steps, blah, 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 blah. But most people hear this sort of message and go all in and try to create all these habits and do it at once. And I think the key, and there's a great book by B.J. Fogg called Tiny Habits. And we call it the principle of the smallest domino. Like, we want to start a domino run and just find the smallest domino that you can knock over every single day.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't feel like much of an accomplishment, the accomplishment isn't that you're knocking that domino over, is that you're building the habit of, I'm going into my home gym.
Yeah.
I'm going to read 10 pages of scripture or 10 pages of nonfiction or whatever it is that I'm doing for myself. You're building the habit of starting to do that thing. And when people start, they usually continue.
Yeah.
And so the habit is what you're forming. Mm-hmm. And our research showed that on average, about 66 days in, you can go from something that you have to work to do to something that's more effortless, right? The 100% of the effort doesn't go away ever, never, but it can get down to like, you're down to 4%.
Yeah.
Right. So it's much easier. So like all of this idea of building life is because I don't want to have to work that hard to have the things that I want.
Yeah.
And the trick is, if I'm willing to work for this short sprint, 66 days, and be really disciplined, I then get this gift that it's actually less work down the line to maintain that thing. And then you reap the benefits, as you were saying, that little 1% or 2% increase on a long timeline. You just absolutely underestimate how that compounds.
Oh, no doubt.
Just like your 401k, your fitness, your relationship, your trust, all of those things can compound in similar ways. And our brains just don't realize you're thinking in 1 year, but if you thought in 5 years, your life would be transformed.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. And I was actually flying back from somewhere, and I was reading a book. It was called Micro Habits or Mini Habits. I know there's a lot of books around that subject. And what the author had mentioned, it was such a simple premise. It's like, look, if you can come up with a few habits or rituals that you can do, even if you're dead tired or hell drunk, say for instance, you want to get healthier. So commit to doing one push-up, one pull-up, a half-mile walk. If you want to start reading, commit to reading one paragraph, right? Because the hardest part is opening the book, or if you want to run, putting the shoes on, committing to that, right?
Yep.
And once you start doing that, you're probably going to do more than one push-up. You're probably going to walk a little more than a half mile or run. When you start reading, next thing you know, it's like, well, maybe another paragraph. That's kind of interesting. And pretty soon it's an hour later. But when you say, I'm going to read 100 pages a day for the next 20 weeks, life happens, and then it doesn't happen, and you get discouraged. And what I've found in life is that if you want to build confidence, the number one way to build confidence is to keep the promises that you make to yourself. And rituals and habits are such a great way to galvanize that each and every day.
I love that. I heard Ed Millett say something similar, right? The people with the most confidence are the ones that keep the promises they make to themselves. And I remembered it because it, like you're just saying it rang true. Mm-hmm. And I had the same reflection. What's great about when you build these rituals into your life, it makes it easier to keep the word that you kept.
Yes.
And by being successful at the small things, you incrementally get confidence to try bigger and bigger things.
No doubt.
And I just think that start wherever you are and then start building momentum. I don't know. I can't remember enough about my physics class I took in college, right? It's been a long time, but I know the hardest thing is overcoming inertia, right? That's why, like, when the car is at a dead stop, getting it moving, right, is like the big journey, going from zero to whatever. The acceleration takes less power.
Yep.
And so, like everything you just described, having the shoes out, just going to the gym, you've overcome the hardest part, which is your inertia, but now you're an object in motion. Just keep going and see where it leads you.
Yeah, no doubt. And thinking about these different habits and rituals, what makes them, for me at least personally, so powerful is when you do them and nobody is watching. Right? It's not because you're doing it and others are watching and you're like, oh, look at me, I'm running, or I'm doing this, or look at me on Facebook, I'm running along doing this, or whatever. It's when you do it and nobody's watching, but you are. I know when I go running, I don't really like to run at all, but I run because I want to be 80 and climbing mountains. And I know it's not going to happen if I start at 79 and a half. Right. Yeah. So I get out there and I run, and I'll run typically a 5K, 6K, 10K, whatever I feel on that day. I set my target for the day and I go. And I'm very blessed to they just had a new gas pipeline come through our area. So which means to me, they just cleared all this land and it's beautiful off-road running. Right. And I love that stuff. And most of the time people don't complain when you run on there. So I run on those things, and it's up and down hills around. It's beautiful. It is exhausting. And there are just a couple days ago, I was running it, and I was running along, and I'm like, I could slow down. I really could. I could slow down because I'll never break a cadence. Like I'll get running. I won't break the jog cadence. I won't go to walk. And I was like, I slow my pace, but I won't stop. And I'm going up this hill, and I'm like, dude, my saboteur's kicking. And like, nobody's watching you, dude. Seriously, you could walk right now if you want to. And I'm like, bullshit. I'm like, I don't care who's watching, because for me, there's always somebody watching above, right? And I'm like, this is my word, and I will never back off of this. And I'm going through, but what that does in your soul is again, moving mountains. Because once you know inside that you won't give up on yourself and that you won't take the easy path, man, when things get hard, you just lock your legs in and you're like, I'm ready for this, man. I know what this is like. I've been doing this when no one's been watching.
I find, like, I may be not as confident as you are. I just find I get through the 5 stages of grief faster than ever before. Right? Is that like when things go off the rails, and they always do, I can move from frustration, victimhood, anger, all of those emotions around what happened much more rapidly. Instead of reacting to the world, I get to respond to it.
Yes.
Because I've built a certain amount of confidence of doing these things.
Yeah.
So similar, maybe it's just slightly different angle on the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do love the idea that someone putting in a long oil pipeline by you is a good thing, which that statement is not one I expected to hear in my lifetime. Most people are like, oh no, nature or whatever, or like I would expect maybe someone who was like in the oil business to say that. But you're a runner and you're like, wow, I just got this off-road route that nobody ever gets. It's all mine.
Exactly. I don't have others out there in competition with this. So it's I'm like, I see an opportunity. Let's go.
So I'll go back to the central theme of the book. And then we've hit all of these things. Like, figure out the thing that's the most important priority. We have a question. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else is easier and necessary? I found that most people, if they stop to ask that question, they often know the answer, but they've been too busy to stop and ask it and realize, oh, wait, I'm neglecting my priority. Figure out that priority. Figure out the activity that is most likely to make it happen, and hopefully the thing that's most leveraged, right? Most advantaged in your world. Do it early in the day. We call it time blocking. Make an appointment with yourself to do it. Most people's appointments are all with clients and other people. But if you literally put it on your calendar, I'll hold up my phone. You can see me. Maybe they can on YouTube. But like when I have an appointment at 15 minutes, a little notification comes on, right? And it's really great. Like I've already been kind of trained to kind of follow the instructions of this device. So I'm leveraging that. But now instead of going on a Zoom with a client or whatever, I've got that time blocked out to do my most important work, whether it to be workout or write or research or whatever it is that you need to do. And then if it is of the keystone habits that matter most for your success, try to make it a habit. Right? Is it really essential? If I look at all of the best people, they all are really good at this thing generally, then I probably want to focus on it a habit. That's a few steps. I just listed out like 5. Figure out the priority, put it on your calendar, do it until it becomes a habit. But it's actually quite simple. It's just not easy. It's really easy to get distracted. It's really easy to give up before the habit's formed. It's really easy to come out of the gates too fast and run out of steam. I was just chatting with one of my coworkers who's just started a workout routine, was doing squats, and instead of just doing body weight, she thought, well, I can do them with 20 pounds weights. And now she can't walk the next day. Right? And I was like, in the beginning, you've got to just kind of, you'll progress faster than you think. But if you come out of the gates too fast, you shut yourself down. So anyway, I love the idea of building rituals and habits with purpose so that someday I look up and say, I'm glad I did, not I wish I had.
I've never met one person, Jay, that has been successful in life that has ever said, I regret having positive, healthy habits and rituals. I've never met one person that says that.
Well, sometimes when I want to have another glass of wine, I have a brief moment of regret, but I don't have a regret when I don't have a hangover the next day.
That's
right. But like, it doesn't mean that you also have to be a robot. Like I quit smoking in 1999. I used to smoke, roll cigarettes. I lived in France for a while. So like, I loved the ritual of cigarettes. And it's like a guy, like it was a guest in my property this weekend. Like here, I bought you a cigar and I was like, okay, I'll smoke it. But like, I'm not tempted that I'm going to run off and like now become a cigar smoker. I think you can enjoy things, but moderation matters.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Just like for me, it was when I was younger. It was I loved an ice cold Corona in a frozen glass with a lime. Oh my God, that was my jam. Right, I'd get done with a day. I was looking forward to that all day out in the heat. I'd come in, I'd be so excited. Then it ended up being two, and then I found myself being really short with my family
Yeah.
and all of that. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. Right, I just can't keep doing this. So I said, what is it about the whole experience that gets me looking forward to it? And for me, it was the carbonation that's like refreshing carbonation. I'm like, why wouldn't I just drink seltzer water then? So I took lime, put it in a seltzer water, and I started drinking that. And it wasn't the same, of course, but my mind didn't know much of a difference. And now I go out to a restaurant, it's always, can I have club soda with lime? And they always, and the others are, they drink whatever they want. I'm like, that satisfies me. That satiates me. I'm like, why?
It's also a good fake drink, so people don't always
really
ask
know
you if you need a drink, right?
Yeah.
They assume it's like a gin and tonic or something. Oh,
Exactly.
You got a big one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I used to, we came out of COVID, and we drink in moderation, but during COVID, it was rough on everybody, right? I was working crazy hours from home, multiple businesses. And like Wendy and I would just treat ourselves. We'd eat a little. We'd order from our favorite restaurants to keep them in business. We'd have an extra glass of wine and maybe some chocolate. Yeah. We gained weight. So when we came out, we got, I remember before the world completely opened up again, I just said, we've got maybe 8 weeks before we're trying to make up for lost time. But if we really wanted to do something drastic, we could do it right now and we wouldn't have temptation because nobody's asking us out to dinner. Like I just remember that spring of 2021, maybe the world was starting to emerge and kind of back and forth. And we did about 12 weeks of keto. Nice. And I'm bringing this up because I lost like 44 pounds. It was like a huge, like great reset for me at a time that I needed.
Yeah.
And then I would get club soda and I would just put it in a koozie.
There you go.
And it was just the ritual of grabbing it in the beer fridge. I kept it in the beer fridge. I'd grab it, nice like there. And sometimes I would put a lime in it and mostly not. But just the ritual of just drinking a cold carbonated beverage in a koozie was enough of a placebo that I really didn't struggle with the cravings.
I love it. No, exactly.
But yeah, that's the worst part about keto. Like you have to either, I know some people who cheat with whiskey and stuff, but like we just gave it up for I think it was like 9 weeks.
Wow. It's just amazing. It's amazing. I didn't think it would work, and I started to do it, and I'm like, this is actually better. I don't have the headache in the morning. I feel better. I don't have a short fuse. This is kind of nice. So one thing I want to jump into, Jay, before we wrap up here is I was reading through some of the stuff that you're doing, and this whole concept of saying no. Could you talk to us about that? Because, man, that is something that really – I was born a pleaser, right? And I'm a recovering pleaser, people pleaser. So for that being the case, it's only recently where I've drawn a hard line with people. And, it wasn't easy for me to get into that because I was so worried about what they thought and what would they think if I said no, and they would hate me and blah, blah, blah. So they wouldn't love me, all that stuff. So how have you managed no? I know as you grow, this is definitely – yes, management is important. So how do you manage that? And how did you get into it?
So in the book we wrote, every yes has to be guarded by 1,000 no's. And I want to attribute that to Steve Jobs, but maybe we were just riffing. I can't remember. It's been a little while. Mm-hmm. And the number one thing that undoes people's habits, focus, is the inability to say no. So like it's a really great skill to learn and learn early. If I'm guessing that maybe you read the article I wrote for the newsletter, the free newsletter, the 20%er, the 11 ways to say no, or is it just something else? Because that actually happened to be, I made the month of November, we put the no in November. And every article was about saying no.
I love it. I didn't see that, but I'm going to go back and look at that now.
You've got something to look forward to.
That's right.
And you can put it in the show notes. Like I do write for realtors, but it's appropriate to all small business owners. That's my audience. I think of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And it's free. But I did write 11 ways to say no without trying to go through all of those because I don't have them memorized. The big themes are, first and foremost, do you know what you've said yes to? And so I gather you're married. I'm married.
Yes, sir.
And I think it was John Maxwell that first said that. So I'll try to give him the man credit. He just said some yeses are bigger than others. When you say I do, you inherently know that yes means no to all the others. Mm. And he goes like, how, and my thought was like, how do we get more I do's? Instead of just saying yes, would you still say yes if it was an I do?
Yeah.
And we tend to not really look around and say, what do I really need to say yes to? Or I will someday possibly regret it. And we've already hit some of these themes. Like I personally, it's not the first thing in the list. Like first and foremost, I want to be a great husband. Then I want to be a great parent. And some people say, why in that order? Well, my kids are old enough that they could get out of a burning building without me. You know, it's like I would still try to rescue them first. And my wife and I kind of have made that deal. But I feel like making sure that our relationship role models for them, my kids. I know so many people that struggle with their number one relationship because it was role modeled very unhealthily by their parents.
Correct. Yeah.
So husband, father, then I want to create things that matter. I want to leave an impact.
Yeah.
So like there are a few roles. I need to be a good son. I've already lost my dad. My mom's getting up there. I want to be a good brother to my sister. Like some hats that we wear are infinitely more important over the scale of our life than any project that we're doing this week. So what are our big yeses? I think when you realize that by saying yes to this, I'm saying no to one of those, it's a lot easier to say no. That's why I bring it up.
It's so true. And I love that I do part, because when you walk down the aisle and you say I do to her, that means you say I don't to the rest. And if you did that with your decisions in life, I just love that Maxwell quote. So if you did that with decisions in your life, how much less would you be doing, but how much more depth could you get into each of those things and actually master them and get back to that one trick pony?
There's always a smart aleck in the room that'll say, yeah, and 60% of marriages end in divorce. And I'm like, yeah, after 7 years, show me how many things you stuck to for 7 years.
Yeah, true.
Right? Anyway, I think that's where it starts. And the other one is a lot of your yeses become conditional. So it's not so much a no, it's a not now or not until you.
Okay.
So not now just means like I'm in my priority right now and I'm happy to address it later. And you don't say it that way. Mm-hmm. But someone important, a customer, whatever, says, I need you to do this. If you ask when they need it, what are they always going to say?
Yesterday.
Yeah, as soon as possible.
Yes.
I mean, like, all right, I think you said that some of the people who listen to this are in landscaping.
Yep.
Like, if there was a hard freeze and their sprinkler system is spraying water everywhere, obviously that's more urgent.
Yeah.
But you can always, like, my push to the future is always like, can I circle back on Tuesday?
Yeah.
And when people are given and you've taught them that you will follow through, that they just want to know that it's on your plate and you're running with it. They don't really care so much that the when, unless there's something important.
Yeah.
I often, social media and text messages, most of the people in sales do a lot of their commitments through text message. And I really try to refuse to do it. And my thing is, and you may have gotten this, like if I start typing the words, all one word, no social on my phone, it'll spit out, hey, I'm trying to avoid making commitments on text messages and social. Would it be a lot of trouble for you to email me at my email address? And that way I can sit down with my EA and find out if we can fit this into my schedule.
Got it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But it's just like when you type TY, I've just gone and purposefully created a script for a few things that I have to say a lot, but I get people out of the text thread and into my email. And then on a Monday or the next day, I can sit down and I can look at my whole calendar and say, do I really have time to say yes to this?
Yeah.
And the last big version is not until you can make things conditional. I was just chatting with someone on my team that someone's always asking them to do work. And this person runs the operations for one of my teams. And I was like, but don't they have to fill out a form? And I was like, oh, this person always brings, and she wants to test the ideas on me before she fills out the form. And I was like, well, filling out the form forces them to get clear about what they're asking. And she's trying to do that with you instead. So like, I'm happy to talk to you after you fill out the form. I used to get, when the one thing came out, I'm kind of a public figure in my little world, right, of real estate. People would reach out. I've always wanted to write a book. Will you help me? And I'll just say, when we were writing our first books, I reached out like that to people I knew in publishing and asked for their advice, and they said yes. So I wanted to be someone who said yes. But I started looking at how much time it was taking from my calendar.
Yeah.
So I videotaped me teaching a publishing class. I've now done this 4 separate times, videotaped it with the help of a friend, put it up on a private YouTube. And when someone asks me, I can just say, yes, but you can't get on my calendar until you watch this video. And this video will cover all the general questions. So you may not even need my time.
Yeah.
Or you'll show up and we'll be equipped to have a really powerful, tight conversation. And I measured it for 2 years. And only 1 in 7 people ever circle back and ask for my time.
Wow.
So it allowed me to say yes,
Yeah.
but on a conditional, like I need you to do some homework. So I'm not doing the same conversation 1,000 times around the fundamentals.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
So those would be the big ones. Know what you said yes to. You can do it's not a no, it's a not now. So you do have time and you do want to do this thing, but it needs to happen around your priorities, not in place of them. And sometimes we're all better served if the person asking for your services, your time, your thoughts does something to make your gift of time more effective. Or you just want them to show some skin in the game.
Yeah.
I literally know people that won't meet with someone as a free consulting. Can I just get 15 minutes of your time unless someone makes a charity donation? It's like, I'm not trying to get rich, but like, I want you to have some skin in the game. So you'll show up and be prepared.
Yeah, it's so true. Even in our world, it's when a customer calls and says they want you to come out and take a look at putting a new backyard in or whatever it might be. It's like, okay, I'm totally on board with that. But first, can you fill out this questionnaire? Is there some skin in the game? Give me some information. What are we talking about here? Let's discover who each other is. Let's make sure we're a good fit, right? Before I come racing out to your house and spend all that time away from my family in order to, potentially
doing free consulting without a contract.
Free consulting, listeners. That's what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
exactly. So
consultative sales model, right? You have to kind of demonstrate that you're the right person, but you also have to qualify them as a verified lead.
Yeah.
Is this person really have a sense of urgency around doing this project on any sort of reasonable timeline, and they actually can pay for it?
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It just makes me tired. And in your profession, like you're wandering around and getting poison ivy and stung by bees.
It's happened.
Yeah.
Well, Jay, I could talk to you all day about this, and I really appreciate you coming on. So if you had one piece of advice for any listeners out there, what would it be?
I would encourage them to ask the question, in what area of my life do I have the biggest opportunity, so that if I made a leap forward there, it would improve all of my life, right? That's basically, without page 114 in front of them to stare at the circles, I'm asking them to pick a part of their life. And then I would just say, like, what's one thing I can change there? Yeah. And then maybe consider going into the new year. I know it's corny, this is coming out around the beginning of the year, I imagine. Go in and just make a commitment, not to a resolution, but to building one tiny power habit in that area. And I just think people will be surprised, no matter how tiny, right? I'm going to read 5 pages of nonfiction, right, a day, or 10 pages. Like, you're basically going from a person who reads 1 or 2 books to get their mind better a year to 10 to 15, depending on how long the books are.
Yeah.
Like, little tiny habits like that just add up so much more than people expect over time. And I would just encourage them to ask, like, where's my opportunity? And can I make this year the beginning of something that I'll look back in 5 years and say that transformed my life?
I love that. Holy moly.
It's not I guess that's a big ask, isn't it? But I think big.
Hey, these guys listening think big too, and I like it. So, good. Jay, how can people find you?
Well, the beautiful thing about a name like Jay Papasan, if you're a writer, is that it's incredibly Googleable. Like, I think I'm actually the only Jay Papasan in the entire world.
Okay.
Which has got to be like a crazy edge case, right? So I'm 1 in 7 billion in terms of the name and the spelling. So if they Google me, and the one thing, they're going to find me. Most people come to our book website, theonething.com.
Okay.
Or you can go to jpapasan.com. And me or one of my team or my assistant or I is attached to all of the inquiries there if they want to reach out or just follow me on social or read my newsletters.
Well, that's awesome. Guys, this book, I was just on Amazon before I popped them on here, and there's over 19,000 reviews on Amazon in this book. So this is no joke. This is 10 years out. They're changing lives around the world with this book and this concept of one-trick pony, which I absolutely love. So if you guys out there feeling like you're trying to multitask and you're not doing well at anything, you're just kind of being a jack of all trades, trust me, I know, because I've been through that, and I'm in a process now at 45 of becoming a one-trick pony again. And it's really quite, I remember I was at, I don't know if you've ever worked with Tony Robbins at all, but we were at a Date with Destiny, and I had a partner there. His name was Dave. And Dave was he's a brash, kind of obnoxious guy. And he happened to be my partner. And I was like, you know what? All right, well, there's a reason why God lined him up like this. There's some reason for this, right? And I sort of tell him about all the things that I'm doing in life. And he's like, dude, you need to stop all that shit. You need to get focused. And I was like, Dave, you're a dick. I'm like, well, why aren't you trying to encourage me? This is what this is all about. And then I realized Dave was right.
Right.
He was right. And I'm like, oh, I need to go back to that one thing. And yeah, that's why I was excited to have you on Family and share that story. But the reality is that
we all need that reminder. Yeah. Okay. And like a friend of mine, I was looking at one of my businesses and he used this metaphor. He goes, look, every garden needs to be tended. You have to weed, you have to prune, or it won't ultimately be healthy. It's a natural thing for things to get complex and a little messy. So you have to be purposeful. There's that word again about going in and just cutting away. And I was like, oh, it's so humiliating to have someone be throwing my own book back at me. But he was right.
Yeah.
He's totally right. You just have to sometimes get a nudge and then go back and simplify your life a little bit.
It's the old saying. We're going to wrap up here. He who chases two rabbits catches neither. Jay,
that's right.
It's been a privilege. Thank you, sir. And everyone listening, we'll talk to you next week.